The man that needs no introduction, Mr. Clifton Parker, longtime resident of Richmond, Virginia, a bio that probably is 10 pages long. You know, you've been in real estate, you've sold boats, many civic opportunities that you have involved yourself with here too. So we're excited to hear what you're doing now with Virginia Foundation. So, Cliff Parker.
Woo! All right, I'm trying to bring in the energy. Got through all my treatment stuff, so I got the energy coming back. So I'm gonna bring it to you. So Virginia Engineering Services. It looks like 4 companies, but it's really just one. With the different little branches of the LLCs and so forth. This is young Cliff, but this is corporate Cliff. Okay, back in the day, and then this is Cliff now, dirty, hot, tired, in my coveralls. Okay, this is kind of my daily uniform, whether I'm working on boats or working on whatever. And the fam, and then we've got my brother Charles, the tugboat captain. So I'm gonna go see him tomorrow for vacation. And I was doing a presentation at a foundation conference. I've pretty much become the expert on foundation repairs in Virginia. And you know, engineers and people think in different ways. I'm kind of a pattern guy. Think about things and you start to see trends. And then all of a sudden, I was at this house. Actually, I got to go back to it today. I really don't want to crawl under it. And the agent's like, we've made these repairs. You've got to get out there and verify these repairs. I was like, please don't make me climb under that like 1938 home, you know? And it got me thinking about housing, okay? And the trends and the different ones. Because I've been telling everybody, oh, 1950s houses, they're the best, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, this is what B&I is about because I can't present this to anybody else, okay? So this is because sometimes when I tell people, like, I mean, you do realize, you know, you're in City Richmond. I mean, you got a historic home. It's balloon frame. Do you know what balloon framing is? No?
Yes.
I'm like, I mean, time out. All right, so this is a big picture, okay? It's Chicago. It's 1833. There's 300 people in Chicago. There's an Amish farmhouse, 4 posts. How complicated a structure is that? It's 4 posts. They're big, heavy posts. It's got a roof. And then the walls are just fictitious, right? Okay, that's Amish. By a few years later, maybe 1840s, they got steam power. They're log and they're taking down trees and Paul Bunyan, and they're basically making 4x4 posts so they can make balloon frame structures from the foundation all the way up to the roof truss. All right, so like that second balloon frame. So Amish, heavy frame, pre-nails, mortise and tenon. I mean, there's houses that don't have any nails in them. They were very valuable, right? Then we get into the modern house. So by the time we get to the 1870s in Chicago with the balloon frame construction, we got almost 500,000 people. And then it burned down. It burned down. It was like a house of matches, right? Because you got little wood slats, you got plaster, there's no insulation, the buildings are close together, and the fire just jets up, right? So then you kind of get back to the construction where let's build one level and let's build a level on top of that. All right, so the building code. Well, the earliest known building code, which is it's kind of true today. All right, this is King Hammurabi of Babylon. Okay, what is this? It doesn't say when I didn't have the date on King Hammurabi. But basically he said, if you build a house and it falls down and it kills somebody in that family, then the builder or his child would be slain in retaliation. So that's pretty much the building code. Like, you can build whatever you want to build, but if it falls down, and it doesn't even say how you're going to be slain. Okay, so it just leaves that to your imagination, right? So it's kind of like doctors, you know, do no harm. You know, back in the day, right? You know, the Hippocratic Oath, what have you. So, all right, significant events. So for this last 100 years, we got World War I, 1914-18. Anytime we go through a fear factor, a period in history, it rotates about every 100 years, going back about 4,000 years. That's called the fourth term. Don't read the book because it's really, really scary. So, but you get major events. And when there's major events and wars and different things going on, people stop having babies. The economy tanks, right? So they're big, monumental events that affect things and so forth. We get from the 18s, we get into the roaring 20s, right? And then 1929, Great Depression. And then the Holocaust starts, Nazis are rolling across Europe, and then we get involved in the war about 1939. War ends 1945. Everybody comes home. We get Vietnam in 1967, the year I was born, and the building code wasn't adopted until 78. And then you get into the 80s, the fall of Berlin Wall and so forth. And of course I got to add MTV, right? Because that's where I grew up. And then we get 2002, we really can start getting engineered projects, okay? So these are kind of like, put that as an outline in your brain on historical events or what's going on. So the Virginia Uniform Building Code, it wasn't even adopted until, what does it say, 1988? First adopted 1973, the State Board of Housing, blah, 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 blah. And then fire code sort of overlaps that. So there's international code, there's the national code, and then there's the state code. So chapter and verse, everything rhymes like, and refers to each other, but our wind loads might be different than, earthquake requirements would be different from California to Wyoming or Colorado or the hurricanes that hit Florida, right? But it's basically the same stuff, and it evolves about every 3 years. So if I pull everything together, the houses that we're looking at in Central Virginia or that you might experience with your businesses and so forth, I just call them, they're old. They're old buildings. They're Civil War era, right? The old stuff in Virginia, right? Central Virginia and so forth. The historic stuff, 1905, 1928. Then you get to transition year, 28 to 48. Just stay away. Stay away. Stay away from the transition. Post-World War II, 1948. Those guys, my grandfather in Germany, my grandfather on an aircraft carrier in the Pacific, all those guys came home. They went to work, and they had seen the horrors of war all around the globe. They came home and they're like, we're gonna do the best. We're gonna do the best job ever. We're gonna make it. We're gonna do it right. Quick evolution in 1948. Then you get the 1970s and all that kind of crap, and the Jimmy Carter years and gas and all that kind of stuff, and the rise of the building code. Lots of regulations in the 70s, and then we get to 2002. We make it through whatever. What was it? The 1999, the 2000, the turnover on the computers and all that kind of stuff. Big things happen. And the other thing is the rise of the I-joists and lower quality wood. So, again, Civil War, 1905-28, balloon framing, pier beam, row houses, 1928 to 48. There's few houses built in that area. So if you're looking at a house, hey, I'm going to build this house. When was it built? 1933. You're like, I better look at it on that one, right? So you get the transition, and then you get the 50s, and then the 2002 and beyond. I call it the rise of the McMansion. Okay? And then in 2003, the U.S. wood industry said, hey, we're not going to put any more arsenic and chromium in the pressure-treated wood. So if you're building a deck on your house today, you're building with like subpar materials. So all these little factors are coming into play. 1893, Maymont, Dooley Mansion, first toilet in Richmond. Okay, 1890, Pine Street. Okay, it's, the back half of the house, it's just on the dirt. The front half, they dug a cellar. The beam is not in the middle, it's offset, right? You've only got one pier holding a ginormous beam, right? And then you've got dirt and stuff like that. I mean, this is the houses we got around our town. 1915, this is Lamb Avenue in Richmond. It's a pretty big home. It's got like a first generation cinder block, like a decorative cinder block. It doesn't have a concrete footer foundation, but at least it's got some block. Now the beam is sort of running through the center of the spine. They're crossing. They've even got some concrete. The porch is actually open. The porch is like part of the crawl space of the house. So you're losing tremendous amount of energy and so forth in your houses. You got pocketed joists. They're pocketed into the masonry because they're masonry structures, and then the brick wicks the moisture, it rots the joist ends and so forth. And then you got Sears Roebuck. They got a magazine, and you can order a house. We got Sears homes right around Richmond. I mean, they're pretty nice houses. They came in a kit, and you put it together with your neighbors or whatever, I mean, big wood. That's a big, giant. You can see the sag in that beam. I mean, it's a heavy built house. I mean, it was a nice house. They're great fixer-uppers. Then we get to this is the beginning of the 1950s, okay? They're brick, they're ranchers. There's usually one level, maybe two levels. This one's got a second level because it's a little Cape Cod thing. You know, now we've got small rooms, small joist spans, we've got a center beam. These things are just, if you're looking for a house, if you're a flipper, if you're gonna do an investment portfolio, 1950s houses, I'm telling you, right on through the 60s, where it's like 48 to like through the 60s, then it kind of transitions and so forth. Then, 1977, a developer goes, hey, I got this swampland, let's build 3,000 houses and a golf course. Yeah, let's do it, man, let's do it. All right, it's gonna be great. Shrink swell clays, that's like the heart of it. But they're bigger houses, they got multiple beams, it's more modern construction, they might have garages and so forth. But again, then you get into the soil issues. Then we get into the advent of like foundation repairs, or how do we mitigate this? And when I was in high school in 1986, it was front page news. You know, put a garden hose in your crawl space and fill it up with water. That'll stop the shrink swell soils from lifting your house. Like, no, no. And then, you know, the 70s, we get these long dimensional joist spans, and people say, hey, maybe we should put a vapor barrier in there, and we'll trap the moisture, and then all the wood rots, so you got to replace all the wood. And then 2018, we start getting rid of, we've got fast growth trees, and instead of air drying the wood, we're going to kiln dry the wood, so the wood is weaker. We've got big changes, right? And then now we got the McMansions, we got big houses, we got big joist spans, engineered joists, huge properties. So I tell clients, like, the age of the house, the size, the geometry, the shape. We got a tray ceiling, we got a big giant living room, the materials, the craftsmanship, the speed of the build. They're slapping up. Ryan Homes, boom, 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 like a machine gun. And then you got the subcontractors, and the subcontractors have subcontractors. And I'm pulling up on a job site, and I see one subcontractor's like, hey man, I got the flooring job. But if you do the flooring job, you're gonna pay this. It ain't gonna take much time. I mean, they're all making a cut. You don't know who's building your house. And then you get like the long-term, like the water management stuff. The technology in the last 10, 15 years has really come a long way, especially encapsulation. Any house built after 2000, or even the old houses, I'm like, you need to think about your energy envelope, drying out your crawl space, keeping it dry, to preserve your wood. I was out in Mechanicsville the other day, and I could put my hand through the beam, hand through the joists. The wood was like butter. A super cycle, mold, mildew, fungus, wood rot degradation, attracting termites, wood boring insects, falling apart. The building code, you know, it's really strict on health and safety, smoke detectors, egress and stuff like that, but it's weak on the structural components because it allows for affordability in housing. So it's up to the builder to really enhance the build. And then there's minimum inspections in the code. So even though you got your permit and your certificate of occupancy, the building inspector didn't look at it that many times. It's really on you if you're building a house to go check on things, work with your builder, and who the project manager is. So whether it's Ryan, Sherm, name a big builder, right, around, you get to know your project manager on your house. In the meantime, keep snakes out of your crawl space, please, for me. And God bless America. Happy July 4th. Thank you very much. I am done.